Hey, how's it going? This is Bill Brock with Team Rogue, and today we're out here in Richmond, Maine. We're actually investigating a sighting that happened a little while ago, but we're going to go in and talk to the eyewitness to see what kind of information we can get about this sighting, because every sighting is important. That little bit of information that we can gather may help us later on in the future. How's it going?
Hey, you must be Bill.
Yeah, Mike?
Yeah, come on in.
Nice. Well, today we're here with Mike Vachon, right? Is that how you
Correct.
said it? Oh, awesome. And Mike, you recently had a Bigfoot encounter, right?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I was running late for work.
That's pretty typical,
So-
for leaving me anyway.
Well, for me, it's not. Usually I'm a little earlier, but I left the house here and I was headed to work, which is about 10 minutes away in Gardner. And as I'm going to work, I take back roads. I turned on a particular back road called the Toothaker Road here in Richmond, and as you go up the road has like an S-turn into it, and when you come out of the S-turn, there's a large farm on the left-hand side, and they usually have a lot of deer in the field. So I'm always watching, and it was a foggy evening with the stars out, but there was a lot of fog, so I was taking my time, but trying to get to work as well.
Yeah.
And I came around the corner, and the last corner of the S comes back to the left, so you're shining, the lights of the headlights of the car will come off a field, a small field that's on the right hand side. It's probably about 30 yards wide. And as I did, I could see the lights came across a darker figure up to the other end of that field. I thought it was odd because it looked a little bit bigger than a deer, and so I slowed down a little bit, anticipating something to cross the road, and I could see deer on the left hand side. And as the lights of the car came back onto the road, so they were shining directly in front of me, out in the field in the darkness, there was a pair of yellowish orange eyes that just lit right up, and it caught my attention because they lit right up and they were looking at me. And looking up the field, I could see the brush in behind this creature, and it had to be at least 8 feet, 9 feet in height, because the eyes were looking at me right around the 7.5 foot height.
Wow.
So I continued up the road, and as I did, I slowed down and I was watching it, and the eyes it was almost like it was glued right on the car. The eyes were glued right on the car, and I watched this creature, and it was in an upright position. As I was looking at it, I could see it going down. I could see the eyes going down towards the ground, towards the ground, towards the ground, until it got to the point where this creature looked like it was completely on the ground.
Wow, so like down in like a prone position.
Down in like a prone position.
Wow.
So I went by the creature. It was probably 10 yards away when I went by it. And I looked to the right, looked at it, and it was just hunkered right down. To give you an example, would be this counter, and width across the shoulders was almost as wide as this counter, and it was probably 3/4 the length of this counter, if not the full length of the counter, and it was just like a giant blob down in a prone position, and it had to be at least 30 inches in thickness to the ground.
Wow.
If not more. And I went by and I just kind of looked at it, and having dealt with this before and seen a Bigfoot in the past, I figured that's what it was. So I continued on to work because I was running late, and I just put a mental note, checked my time, noted the conditions and stuff, and I went off to work, and I thought to myself, I'll stop back on the way back home and I'll look for prints. Well, I came back later that morning, probably about 7:30 when I came back through, and the field had been mowed like the week before, and it was dry. The ground was dry, but the field was mowed and the hay was still there. So when I came back, I pulled the pickup truck over to that side of the road, and I get out and I started looking, and immediately I saw what looked to be a depression in the ground, right on coming out of the ditch. So I kind of pushed stuff aside, and I was able to see a track. It had to be about 18 to 19 inches long.
Wow, geez.
And about 7 inches wide, roughly, without measuring it. And I said, well, there's a track. And judging from, research my uncle has done on these animals and everything I've read on them, I took a rough gate, about 3.5 feet back, 4 feet back, and I looked, and sure enough, there was another track pressed down into the depressions of the freshly mowed hay. So it was pushing down on the hay, but not enough to get into the ground. Because I checked that, I again went back the same distance. There's another track. I did that all the way to the woods.
Wow. So did you see any indication where this Sasquatch could have maybe been hunting the deer that were in that field, or do you think it was just kind of there coincidentally?
I think it was probably hunting the deer in the field.
Did you see any tracks that may indicate that when you were checking it out?
Well, the deer tracks come right across right there. There's a game trail that comes across right there. That's where the deer come out of the woods right in that general area, and they cross that little field and go out into the big field.
Yeah, here in Maine, I tell you, I've had the majority of sightings right on top of game trails. Either on a game trail or in a waterway. And you were talking a minute ago about your uncle. I think it's important to let people know who your uncle is. I think he's probably one of the well-known Bigfooters here in Maine. Who's your uncle?
His name is Richard Brown. He lives in Sydney. He's lived all over the country, and he investigates a lot of things: Bigfoots, mountain lions, UFOs, ghosts. He's into all of that, and primarily he's into the Bigfoots here in Maine, just because he uses the local free papers for advertisement to say, have you seen a creature that looks like a Bigfoot? Right. And he gets a lot of calls off of that.
Yeah, and he has a lot of casts in the Cryptozoology Museum too from that.
Yeah, he does. And when he was getting these reports, he was going out and doing the investigations. He'd find the prints, he'd cast the prints. So he had I was at his house one day, and before he had brung some down to the Cryptozoology Museum, and we were sitting there, and he's telling me all about it, and he brings out the casts, and I'm looking at 8 or 9 casts here sitting on a table, and it's like I'm looking at him going, wow, there's different various sizes, and I'm looking at all the different little things on them. I'm like, well, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
They
all have similarities, but yet they're all different.
Yeah, they're all different.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But it's pretty awesome. I think that he has some great theories on where Bigfoot migrates, and hopefully one day I'll get a chance to talk to him. He's definitely somebody that's on my bucket list of people I'd love to talk to here, and hopefully I get a chance to. But till then, man, I hope that in the spring we get a chance to go out and research this sighting of yours. I think it's a really intriguing sighting, and it really wasn't that long ago.